And one last look at your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center here on your Tuesday morning. All lanes blocked at Highway 1 between Lost Branch Road and Cowles Ferry Road due to a multi-car accident, so seek an alternate route if you're going through that area. Again, all lanes blocked between Lost Branch Road and Cowles Ferry Road. Today, high of 81, partly cloudy with a slight breeze. Tomorrow's high is sunny with 84 degrees. That's your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center here on the early game. Nine o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on the game as we navigate your way through the week, coming away from South Carolina's 38-10 victory over SC State on Saturday. You know, when I finished up at 3 yesterday and Jay was coming in to do the post-game show, he asked me, he says, you know, how was the reaction today in terms of the feedback we got from listeners on the phone line, the text line, and all that kind of stuff. And I told him it felt like a loss, right? I felt like the conversations we were having yesterday, not just us, you know, talking back and forth, but the conversations we're having with people with the concerns mainly on offense from that game on Saturday really felt like Carolina lost the game, but they didn't. They won by 28 points, which, you know, wouldn't have covered the theoretical spread on the game, but you're still 2-0 at the end of the day, which, again, we said yesterday is the most important thing. A lot of things to improve on, but you didn't lose, and that's the most important thing coming away from Saturday.
Yeah, look, it's not a perfect product so far, but again, how many teams can you say right now are maybe Oregon? I mean, winning by, 66 points against Oklahoma State?
Well, we may learn that Oklahoma State might end up being like the worst FBS team of all time.
Yeah.
So maybe that one win won't look quite as impressive.
But still, they were firing on all cylinders. Again, not every team is like that right now. The good thing for South Carolina is they're 2-0. They're still right on the cusp of being a top 10 team in the country. They may not be playing like it, but at the end of the day, you're 2-0, and you're in this stretch now where it's like it's not a gauntlet yet, but it's the appetizer before the main course comes out in October.
Yeah.
And by that point, you better still be hungry and ready to go.
It is your warm up before you really get into the intense stuff. And I will say this, all three, well, I think we had an idea of what Vanderbilt was going to be coming into the season, but Kentucky and Missouri probably look tougher than maybe we thought they were going to be 2 weeks ago, right? Obviously, Missouri lost a lot. Namely their great receiving core. Brady Cook, who was an experienced quarterback. We didn't know enough about Bo Perbula, but dang, they looked pretty impressive on Saturday beating Kansas. And then Kentucky, who looked awful in their win against Toledo in week 1, gave Ole Miss all they could handle. And if Zach Calzada doesn't get hurt, then maybe they win that game on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, they even look more challenging.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher now compared to what we thought going into the year. At the same time, though, I mean, Carolina, they got 2 of these next 3 games at home, which is a huge, huge benefit. I think that gives South Carolina the edge for sure in both of these games. Heck, they're going to be a favorite probably in all 3. And then you go to Como next week, which is now a night game, prime time, national TV. And also, make a bold prediction here. I think College Game Day is going to go to Missouri.
Really?
I do think so. I think the schedule lines up to where it's like not a lot of big matchups going on. There's one matchup I think going on. I want to say I know it's Indiana, I believe they're playing Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. So they might want to go to Big Ten country, but also keep in mind, maybe that's a big noon kickoff. This game would be, for South Carolina, to be on ABC or ESPN at night, and that's obviously makes it easier for College Game Day. So I could very well see them going to Como in 2 weeks.
Your only ranked matchups ranked versus ranked matchups that week, based on the rankings right now, is number 9 Illinois at number 22 Indiana.
Yes, that's the game.
Carolina at Missouri, which I don't have a kick time for Illinois Indiana yet, but I'm assuming that's got to be
I think that's
a noon game.
I think I saw that it's a noon game. So.
Texas Tech and Utah, which is also a noon game. That's an early kick out there. Yikes. Let's see. Auburn and Oklahoma.
But they were just at Oklahoma.
They were just at Oklahoma. They're not going to go back twice.
I don't think they're going back right away.
And then that may be it. I think that's all the ranked versus ranked matchups that weekend. And watch that be the weekend where they decide to go to Harvard or a D3 school or something.
Here's the thing. If Carolina or Missouri were to lose this weekend, I think that changes things drastically. So, I just think that would be the case here. And, for South Carolina, regardless of College Game Day and all that.
I don't think Missouri's losing to Louisiana.
I don't think so.
I think they can handle the Raging Cajuns.
But I'll say it, man. If Carolina and Missouri win, don't be shocked if that is College Game Day. I looked at the schedule yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, I can see it. It's very conceivable.
Yeah, especially because if Carolina's able to win this weekend, they could potentially get themselves back in the top 10. Missouri, depending on teams ahead of them, may be able to jump around 20th. So it could be a compelling matchup. It's not quite as special when you're the away team for a College Game Day, but still, it's a reflection on how good the game is.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, did you see the Big Noon crew? The Matt Leinart, Mark Ingram, Urban Meyer, those guys are basically the Big Ten's version of College Game Day. Or Fox's version. They're going to Oregon Northwestern.
I did see that.
Very strange.
Yeah, because is that a Big Noon Saturday kick?
I think it is at 12.
Okay. God, that's 9 a.m. local time for Oregon.
Yeah.
But it's at Northwestern, right?
It is at Northwestern.
Yeah, that's still the Big Ten being coast to coast is so funny because you have Oregon fans having to watch their team at 9 a.m. Michigan State got announced that their
11
game is kicking off at 11 p.m. I guess not this week, but next week.
It's crazy. And they're going out to Southern Cal.
Yeah,
so you got the Trojans.
Southern Cal. So
we need to make a rivalry out of that. Trojans, Spartans.
That would make a lot of sense.
It would be. So that'd be the only thing that makes sense about the Big Ten realignment.
Yeah, those TV, which again, now that there's no Pac-12, somebody has to occupy that 11 to 2 a.m. window, and well, it just has to be the Big Ten and the occasional Big 12 team.
Yeah. But anyway, circling back to the Gamecocks.
Anyways.
Again, big test this weekend.
Sure.
You got a team that just spanked Virginia Tech, scoring 34 points in the second half.
And holding them to 21 offensive yards at that.
Shutting them out. The key thing you're going to have to do here, and I was looking back at the time of possession, I think Vanderbilt only won it by 5 minutes. It was 32 to 27 minutes. So it's not like they were drastically better in terms of they held the football the entire game. But the big thing is that, again, Virginia Tech wasn't doing anything offensively.
Yep.
They'd go 3 and out, and then that would lead to Vanderbilt just driving down the field and scoring. So you got to be careful with this Vanderbilt team. But again, I don't think Vandy has seen a defense like the one Carolina has so far this season yet. No disrespect to Virginia Tech, but obviously giving up 34 second-half points is just not very good. Quite honestly, that should help South Carolina. This is a big test. They really did a nice job last year of containing Diego Pavia, which is going to be the key again this weekend. But you also have to really do a good job of stopping this receiving corps and obviously Eli Stowers. But I think Carolina is more than up for the task. But the other thing is offensively, I think if there's any bit of Lenore Sellers not being unlocked yet, he needs to go out there and play unhinged. Completely insane, do his thing.
The offense is obviously what concerns a lot of people. And I went back and looked at the numbers of the first 2 games this year and the first 2 games last year, and actually wanted to dive into some of those comparisons in just a second here. But first, it is 9 o'clock, and as always, we got to kick things off with our Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped? Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, the George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9. So, would you say the first two games this year and the first two games last year, opponent-wise, are pretty comparable? Because last year you had an Old Dominion team that was 6-6 in the Conference USA, Sun Belt, whatever conference
Sun
they're
Belt,
in.
yep.
And they came in here, gave South Carolina a good scare. This year you played a pretty good FCS team in South Carolina State. They gave South Carolina all they could handle, at least for the first half. Last year you played what ended up being one of the worst teams in Power 4 in Kentucky. And then this year you're playing what could end up being one of the worst teams in Power 4 in Virginia Tech. Would you say those four, the 2-2, are pretty comparable to each other?
I would say so, yes. I think both teams have yet to be really tested. But I will say this, Vanderbilt, I feel like, has definitely been tested a bit here just because, yes, they played Virginia Tech, but they went to Blacksburg and they won handedly. So that environment, again, I don't think it's on the same level as Willie B at night, but it's a good test to get them ready for this weekend.
So I'm making these comparisons because I went back and pulled the numbers offensively from the first two games last year and put them up against the numbers in the first two games this year. And at the end of the day, the numbers this year actually do look a little bit better. So total offensive points in the first two games last year, and again, these are just purely points scored by the offense, so touchdowns and field goals, doesn't count special teams, doesn't count defensive scores. They did have one more touchdown last year and two more field goals. So total points were a little bit better offensively a year ago. Yardage-wise, average per game, Carolina's doing better through the first two games this year. Pass yards per game, Carolina's doing better through the first two games this year. Rush yards per carry, Carolina is doing better through the first two games this year. Turnovers, none so far this season, which is better than last year. They've given up fewer sacks through the first two games this year. Third down percentage is almost right at the same. And I bring that up because, again, it kind of feels like the sky is falling for a lot of people when it comes to where Carolina's at with offense. And I get it. It's not been pretty through the first couple games. But we know Carolina teams play better as the season goes along. And last year ended up being a really, really good season, despite the fact they started out slow. And speaking of the numbers here, started out worse than they are this year offensively. So I don't think we need to give up hope all at once. Obviously, a lot of things need to be improved on, but they proved last year that you can make significant strides even if you get off to a rough start.
The other big thing worth mentioning here in that comparison is look at who that second game of the year was against last year. Kentucky on the road, SEC. Also, coordinators were different. So Dow Loggins was calling plays at that point. So I think Carolina, we have not really seen them. Again, we say they haven't opened up the playbook, but again, Mike Shula did run some trickery. They ran the triple option the other day that didn't work because Jared Brown didn't catch the pitch, which
that's kind of the pitch was a little behind him.
It was, but then you look at the play. Like if he had caught that ball, he's got green grass ahead of him. He's picking up a first down, so that would have worked if he caught the ball. But again, it was a little behind him. Honestly, there's some part of me that feels like Lenoris should have just kept on that one and just kept running forward. I mean, that's what we probably needed to see there. But again, it happened. But then they also ran the reverse with Nick Harbor going on and picking up a first down. You wish he could have picked up more yards. But again, my point being, they have tried things so far. It's not like they are running this super, super vanilla offense. But at the same time, I feel like we have not seen everything kind of come unfolded yet, just because they have SEC play starting this weekend, and then by then I think we start seeing a lot more.
Yeah, and I don't think it's I don't think people are frustrated at the fact that they're not doing enough exotic stuff. I just think it's like this commitment to trying to make the run work when it's clearly not working, especially up the middle. Like, all right, you tried it 5 times on, first downs and you're getting, 1.5 yards carry. Maybe we should get away from this. I think it's, from what we've seen right now, Shula's insistence on things, to keep doing things over and over and over again, I guess hoping that they'll work. And sure, maybe there are a couple things that they still got in their back pocket they haven't unleashed yet, but I think it's more about the philosophy overall more than the like trickery or unique things they're trying to do.
And I think it's become a little bit predictable in a lot of ways with what they're running. So, again, I think at some point you're going to have to accept the fact that this run game, as much as you want it to be very, very good, it's just not so far. And maybe it will be better. Maybe Rasul Faison will finally turn into the player that South Carolina spent 9 months hoping he would be able to play, because he really has not turned out to be all that great so far this year. Adaway's been fine. He had a good first game with almost 80 all-purpose yards, but it's got to be better moving forward, and you got to really let Lenore start to do his thing, because that will really help the run game in a lot of ways.
Vanderbilt coming up on Saturday night. We'll continue to dive into that matchup as the week rolls along. But what did we miss from the SEC over the weekend that we didn't get to yesterday? We'll dive into that coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday here on The Game.
This just in, AAA Heating and Air continues to dominate the Midlands with the best HVAC replacement options around. With guaranteed financing, 12 months, no payments or interest, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty, they're setting the standard for new system installations. And that's right, they have heating and cooling system installation, AC and furnace repairs, duct cleaning, and indoor air quality. So they are able to help you out in so many ways. And I mentioned repairs. They also have really great deals on repairs. That's right. If your system is broken and you're strapped for cash, AAA Heating and Air can still help. They offer up to 12-month payment plans with no credit check required on repairs. So all you need is a valid bank account. That's it. That's all you need. So don't delay. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Whether it's a replacement or repair, they've got the deal that you need.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. It's Howard Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday on the game. Kind of putting a bow on the weekend, and obviously there were so many things that happened across college football. We can get a chance to get into everything that happened across college football or the SEC over the weekend. I talked yesterday about the big upset with USF, taking down Florida, the Ole Miss Kentucky game, but there's a few other games that I did want to note on, and it was kind of a weird day across the entire sport. A lot of games with delays and stuff like that, but two teams that I guess what kind of played with their food is the best way to describe it. LSU and Georgia had less than dominant performances against teams that, again, very much like South Carolina, you expected them to beat a lot more soundly. Georgia only beat Austin Peay 28-6, and LSU only ended up beating Louisiana Tech. What was that final score? 23-7. 23-7, excuse me. Less than stellar performances by those two teams, again, allowing them to hang around and it be more competitive than you thought. And for both these teams, they played their starters the entire game. Like Garrett Nussmeier played the entire game for LSU on Saturday. And I think a lot of people overreact to these kind of games, but in a weird way, these kind of teams tend to do these kind of things a lot. I don't know why. Like, Kirby Smart's not covered the spread against like an FCS team in a very long time for whatever reason. So it's like, and they had a lot of delays in their game, but it's like these like sleepy, sloppy, lazy kind of games that are kind of anomalies on team schedules like this sometimes.
No, it's definitely. And you see with Georgia, I mean, they were dealing with the weather really, really bad. I think I showed you that one picture of the lightning.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Which is crazy. So, I mean, again, they were in a really long delay. Heck, Clemson was in a really, really long delay, and they looked awful at times against Troy, but still won that game by a few points. But, I think it's, going back to Carolina, though, for a second. I mean, look, they won by 28 points, and we're acting like the world just ended for Carolina. Like, they're not 2-0 and have everything still in front of them. They got some problems, but, heck, they're going to be able to fix them, I think.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not like they are problems that are beyond correcting. It's still so early in the year, and I think things are going to be fine. The same could be said for LSU and Georgia. It's two of the top teams in the country who could very well be playing for an SEC championship against each other at season's end. I mean, these teams are that good. So, look, you're going to have these games where you have to sleepwalk a little bit. And I think there's this mindset for these guys, unless it's a top opponent or someone in your conference or something, or a big game at the beginning of the year, I think it's hard to kind of get up for these games against these small schools and stuff, right? Like, they're gonna be ready, and they should win these games no problem, but they're gonna be a little sleepwalkish at times, and I think that's what we saw for a lot of these teams this weekend, weather delays or not.
Yeah, and I think that's the odd thing about those games, and maybe you felt the same way about Carolina on Saturday. You don't feel like they're going to lose, but it's like, okay, put your foot on the gas, like start pulling away. That's, pile on, 3-4 touchdowns and make this more comfortable, which just didn't happen. Again, it's early in the season. For LSU specifically, they came off a highly emotional win against, LSU or Clemson the week before. So sleepy Saturday in Baton Rouge. I'm not freaking out about either one of these teams, and like you said, they could end up being the two teams that end up playing for the conference championship come December, but just kind of odd Saturdays for them. One team that did not have an odd Saturday was Alabama, because they had to deal with the conversation around them the entire week of, man, you guys got dominated by Florida State, you looked weak, you looked soft, you got out physicaled. Well, they went out there and took out their frustration on Louisiana Monroe 73-0. Ty Simpson did not throw an incomplete pass in this game.
And Austin Mack went 8 for 10. Keelan Russell 4 for 6. So really nice game for the Alabama quarterbacks in this one. Yeah, like they needed this type of performance to knock off some of the frustration. Like I'm seeing people out there saying, like, "Oh my God, they're going to lose to Louisiana Monroe. It'll be just like 2007." Like, what are we talking about? Like Alabama, yes, they did not look good in week 1, but you could tell, like, you read some of the articles and stuff leading into the week, they were pissed off. Like, they had the players-only meeting. Kalen DeBoer was in there firing those guys up, and he was saying that they were all pissed off. And we know what happens when you face an Alabama team that's pissed off, and it's not you don't want to be on the other side of that without Nick Saban or not.
it's one of those things that I didn't think that they were going to lose to Louisiana Monroe, but I was interested to see the effort and how hard they were trying. And I think they went out there and proved that, they got the message at least from the prior week. Now, again, go out there and do that against a quality opponent, and then it will be a little bit more believable. But, they made sure that Louisiana Monroe did not have a chance very quickly as they had 42 points at halftime.
And again, this team, Alabama, I think we're not going to learn a ton about this team from this type of game against Louisiana Monroe. No disrespect to ULM, the Warhawks, but at the same time, Alabama took care of business. They're going to be judged based on how they do when they go to Georgia in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think they should probably roll through Wisconsin this weekend at Bryant-Denny, one of the worst teams in FBS right now. I think that's crazy to be saying about a Wisconsin team that's probably going to get smoked here this Saturday. But the big test is in 2 weeks when you're going to Athens. Your season's not on the line, but it's like, hey, you need to win this game to get yourself really back in the conversation of one of the better teams in the country, because we know they can be.
Sure.
All the talent in the world is at Alabama. This is a really, really good team. But again, what did they learn from that first loss against Florida State on the road? They got to be better on the road, number one.
Over the weekend, also, Texas took on San Jose State, won that game pretty comfortably, 38-7. A lot of concern, though, about how Arch Manning looked in terms of the facial expressions he made when throwing the football. And Steve Sarkisian yesterday in his Monday presser was asked about that, and he was not pleased to be asked this question.
On your right, Zach?
Arch Manning seemed to be having some throwing pains by the
According to who?
Arch?
Arch said that to you?
No.
Oh, according to who?
It just looked like he was.
He doesn't have any.
Is there an explanation to why it looked like that?
I don't know. I've never filmed any of you guys when you're using the bathroom, so I don't know what faces you make when you're doing that.
In the middle, Roger.
So I get what Sark was trying to do. I don't know if that was the best execution of that.
No.
But he clearly was not pleased with people assuming that Arch Manning was dealing with some sort of injury.
I mean, all right. I mean, in case you have not seen what we're talking about here, there was a throw on Saturday against San Jose State that Arch is slinging it to his left, and he grimaces as he makes the throw. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you're grimacing, making a throw, you got that face of pain on your face, and you're not hurt. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? Obviously, you're hurt, but they're trying to keep that thing in house, I'm sure, and not give it away. So, look, I don't know how it happened. I'm guessing he took a big hit in the Ohio State game. Wouldn't be surprising, but that wasn't necessarily ideal to see. But he had a great day. I mean,
Yeah.
295 yards, 4 touchdowns. But again, it's much like Alabama with, okay, can they beat a good opponent on the road? For Arch, it's okay. You're doing great against these small school teams that you're going to beat up over the next 3-4 weeks here. But when you go to Gainesville here in a few weeks, and I know Florida's not doing very hot right now, but you go to Gainesville in a few weeks, how are you going to look against a big spot?
Yeah, we're still waiting on him to prove it against a quality opponent. And again, I saw those same clips of him wincing when he threw on Saturday as well. And I think it's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. And the fact that Steve Sarkisian got so defensive almost leads me to believe is there something going on they don't want getting out?
Totally is. And he had to make that stupid analogy to taking a picture using I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't. That's a little bit apples to oranges in terms of what we're talking about here, man.
Is Sark taking pictures of people in the bathroom?
Yeah, it's like if we do that, Coach, we have to have a different conversation.
Yeah, it's like
That's a whole lot weirder.
it's like being the person that accuses someone else of farting. It's like
Exactly.
it's like come on, dude.
Yeah, it's well, now I'm even more suspicious that you did it.
NCAA, we're gonna need an investigation here out in Austin on Sark and his
Yeah.
picture taking, because
Say,
that could be strange.
If you happen to run into Steve Sarkisian in the bathroom, just be weary.
Just take a picture.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, I'm gonna wait till you're done, then I'll let you leave. Those kind of things. So yeah, weird answer to that question. But he was clearly frustrated by being asked about Arch's injury. But we'll see this weekend if there is actually anything going on with Arch Manning. We'll dive into the NFL, as it was a wild first weekend in the National Football League. We didn't get to any of that yesterday. We'll dive into it coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Tuesday on the Game. Tyra headed for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Raise your glass to the start of Oktoberfest and keep it raised for authentic Stein hoisting competition. You can join in on Fridays in September at 6 p.m. this month for the chance to win weekly prizes and Sam Adams swag as a part of Oktoberfest over at Twin Peaks. Again, each and every Friday coming up through the month of September. But it doesn't just stop there. With so much football action going on with pros, college, and everything else, get yourself down to Twin Peaks each and every day. There's football on, and park yourself in front of one of the TVs, take in all the great action, enjoy some great food, and, of course, those 29-degree draft beers. All this and more with our friends at Twin Peaks here in Columbia, right down the street in the Vista.
What was your first conversation with Matt Prater?
Honestly, I met him in the locker room 2 days ago. He showed me a video of his son playing quarterback. That's how we met. And today, before the game, he comes up to me, in the locker room. Before we even take the field, he just said, "Hey, I promise you I'm going to give you everything I got tonight." It's a guy that's been around the league for a long time, and I'm just thankful he's here for us.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday on the Game. That was Josh Allen, Bills quarterback, talking after the game on Sunday night about how long he had known Matt Prater, all of 2 days. And, well, that prediction came true because Matt Prater kicked the game-winning field goal to cap off what might end up being game of the year. And we're only in week number 1 as the Bills mount a tremendous comeback in the final couple minutes to take down Baltimore 41-40 on Sunday Night Football.
All right, so you want to hear the breakdown from the Bills fan here?
Yes, walk me through your experience with this.
All right, so first off, I ran out to Cookout, went to go get a milkshake at halftime because
Nice.
I was craving a sweet treat.
Yep.
So went out and got one, came back, peanut butter with peanut butter cups, by the way.
Oh,
very,
always good.
So good. I missed probably about I came back. It's probably about 3 minutes left in the third quarter.
Okay.
Bills are down at that time. I'm like, man, like they just can't stop the Ravens. And then they go down. I think it was 40-25. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm turning this game off. I was watching highlights from because we had to get ready to talk about it on radio. I think the Florida game maybe against USF.
Yeah.
So I'm watching. And then I look at my phone. I'm like, oh, Bills are driving down the field. They score. I turn the game back on. Derrick Henry fumbles. And I'm like, oh, baby, here we go. I'm jumping up and down. I felt so bad for my neighbors above me and below me because, I mean, it was bad.
So you're a loud watcher?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
I'm intense. I'm intense. So then I see them score the game tying touchdown. At the time it was they scored the touchdown. They go for the 2-point. Didn't work. I was pissed about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get the stop, and I'm like, oh man, here we go. They kick the field goal. And I am just screaming, let's go! Like, all this sort of stuff. Like, it was intense, man. It was intense. And, I was very, very loud. I was jumping up and down. I was going crazy. Matt Prater, dude's got that alpha mentality out there, man. He's a dog. I'm happy he's on my team. I love Tyler Bass, but let's be real. Matt Prater, he's Mr. Reliable. So I'm happy with him for right now. If you need to keep Tyler Bass in the IR for most this year, by all means, go for it. But, look, there are a lot of problems defensively. You get up 40 points, it's bad. But you trust Josh Allen in this offense, that's all you need.
By the way, I love fire drill field goals. And I know, there was 30 seconds, so it wasn't, completely urgent. But I do love, hey, the clock's ticking. You don't have the comfortability of a timeout. I love when because the Chiefs did it on Friday night. To end the first half,
which was insane how they did it.
Which that was
15
crazy.
seconds left.
Yeah, so I love a good fire drill field goal, and especially when it ends a game like that.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was about to piss my pants watching that. I'm just like, oh my god, you got 30 seconds left, and then it started counting down. I'm shouting, get the kickoff, and then they eventually did with 3 seconds left, and it was a chip shot field goal.
Oh, it was an easy field goal.
But let me just say, the Bills. Look, the Ravens had some of their lucky moments in this one. The Ravens should have won this game. They've blown too many of these games for years now under John Harbaugh. But the Bills got very lucky in this game in a lot of ways. Keon Coleman, the touchdown right before, I think it was the one that put them behind by 10 points at that time, or 8 points, whatever it was. I mean, that ball got tipped in the air, and he just luckily caught it. I mean, it was a great game for him, but, 112 receiving yards. A lot of those did obviously come off that one play right there. I mean, he looked great. Josh did his thing out there. You have a guy like that anytime out there, you have a chance to win a football game. But this is a bad look for the Ravens, man. I mean, they dominated this game. And Derrick Henry fumbles in the most crucial spot.
After having an incredible game himself.
The Bills could not slow him down to save their lives.
It is insane to me how this dude just has no... Again, he is... How old is he? 31? He has no signs of slowing down. This guy has been a monster for a decade now.
169 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 9.4 yards a carry. That's absolutely insane. And, the Ravens dominated on the ground. 8.5 rushing yards per carry on 29 carries. That's insane. The Bills did not do anything on the ground in this game. And the Bills' defense was just, look, for most of this game it was bad. But when they really needed to step up, they made the plays. They got the fumble, and they got the 3 and out. And that's why South Carolina, why Buffalo won this game.
Real quick, since we're talking about Derrick Henry, I saw a stat that I legitimately could not believe and had to look it up myself. Do you know Derrick Henry's been in the league for a decade now, right?
He has.
Do you know that his total yardage rushing in the NFL does still not equate to his 4 years in high school?
It's crazy.
He ran
Crazy.
at ULE for 12,124 yards in 4 seasons. And in 10 years in the NFL, he is currently only rushed for 11,592 yards.
Oh, my God. That's insane, man. That dude, we talk about greatest high school players of all time. That's probably the guy right there.
He might be number one.
Yeah.
Best
best offensive player, and I mean best defensive player. Clowney, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, but I had to bring that up because I couldn't believe that stat when I saw it. Earlier on in the day, fun game that I watched, and I don't. By the way, how was Red Zone? I meant to ask. How was Red Zone?
Yeah, of course.
Did I see the total commercials was only a minute for the whole day?
So, contrary to popular belief of how bad it was going to be, like we're not going to get the last throw to the end zone, chance to win the game. Then the Burger King commercial pops up like the funny funny memes have been showing. No, it was. I think the first one I saw was it was in the Pats game, and they're in the middle of about to go call a play, and then 15-second Wingstop commercial comes up, and then I go online and see what people are saying on Twitter and stuff, and they're like, "Well, I'm never going to Wingstop again," and stuff
come on.
It's for a 15-second ad. Now, again.
By the way, you're not going to stop going to Wingstop.
No. I thought it was fine. I really did not think it was that big of a deal, to be honest. But I will say, it's fine now.
Yeah.
Ask me again in 2 years, Tyler, when there's 10 minutes worth of commercials.
It's all right, I will tolerate this for the time being, but don't make it worse.
Yep. And we're gonna get to a point where there's that ad-free system and you have to pay more. It's fine now, but it could be worse.
Kind of like I'm watching you. Don't get crazy.
Yeah, but the game you were about to talk about, I think the Aaron Rodgers probably.
Yeah, the Jets and the Steelers. That was a pretty fun game, back and forth, and for at least that day, I mean, it looked like Rodgers maybe kind of found the fountain of youth for a little bit there. He looked like his old self again.
Yeah, dang. Do we have the cut of what Rodgers said?
I do actually.
Ooh, perfect.
That was.
Let's play it.
Hold on, gotta find it here.
Yeah, I don't see it on the sheet here, but
here it is.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that, since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets.
Now, I didn't blame Aaron Glenn for being that up front with Aaron Rodgers because he brought a lot of unnecessary drama to the Jets the past couple of years, a lot of baggage, trying to bring his buddies in and the injury and all that kind of stuff. So Aaron Rodgers isn't quite the victim I think he was portraying himself to be on Sunday.
No, not at all. But he had a great game, a revenge game, if you will. 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. I believe I saw the stat. Most touchdowns thrown in a game by a Steelers quarterback making his debut?
Yes, that popped up at one point during the game.
I thought I saw that.
By the way, Chris Boswell, 60-yard field goal to win it.
That was crazy. And did you see the hit at the end of the game?
Yeah,
that Jalen Ramsey.
God. Listen, we live in an era where big hits are fewer and farther between because of the rules now.
But man,
I appreciate when somebody lays the wood like that.
He had Garrett Wilson begging for air, crying in his post-game press conference. He destroyed that man on that hit. And honestly, I think Fields should have just taken off and ran on that play. I don't know what he was doing, dumping that ball off on 4th and short. But, I mean, again, the Jets looked pretty good in this game. I'm not going to lie.
They did.
They ran the football efficiently. Fields looked fine operating the offense. But, again, they make these silly mistakes, and they always find ways to come up short. It's just who they are.
Well, those teams are trending up. The Dolphins are trending down. We'll get into that coming up next to wrap up hour number 1 of the Extra Point here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Tuesday on the Game. Remember, Coach Beamer is speaking today at 1 o'clock, which you can listen to on the halftime show right here on the Game. We're recapping some things that happened over the course of the NFL weekend. And you always got to be careful to make definitive statements after just 1 week, but I feel pretty confident in saying I think the Mike McDaniel era is pretty much over in Miami. You couldn't have got off to a worse start than they did. 33-8 loss to Indianapolis over the weekend. The offense looked completely inept. You've had the drama in camp of Tyreek Hill and the back and forth with him and Mike McDaniel. Everything just kind of seems to be falling apart in Miami right now.
Remember that 1 year, what year was it the Dolphins started off, historically bad, losing to, was it 2019, I think, when they just were getting beat every single game, and we're talking about one of the worst teams in NFL history and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
It's not exactly like that, but it has that same vibe of the Dolphins may be pretty bad this year because they're getting diced up by Danny Dimes. I mean, that's not really really good.
Danny Dimes looked like freaking Peyton Manning in that Colts uniform.
He did
on Sunday. Again, this is Daniel Jones that we're talking about. We know what his ceiling is, and it's not very high, but you wouldn't have known that Sunday.
No. You had to play Zach freaking Wilson on Sunday. That's how bad it got. Tua didn't look good at all. I mean, they couldn't run the football to save their lives. Their best receiver had 40 yards.
Well, their best receiver hates being on the team. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, but hey, look. He's done it all to himself.
He has.
Yeah. He's not a good dude either. Got a lot of problems there. So, it just adds to the layers of the issues with the Dolphins and the drama they have. But
And this is something that we see a lot, where you have this brilliant mind, offensively or defensively, that gets a head coaching job because of their prowess for calling plays, but they don't know how to run a team, right? And again, we're seeing this with Mike McDaniel, where there's so much drama happening outside of the lines of the field. It's devolved into chaos. And then when you're having problems on the field and your offense isn't working like it did in the beginning, where, again, they were putting up 70 points in some games a couple years ago, then everybody quickly loses faith. Not only the fact that every time they did make the playoffs or every time they play in weather below 40 degrees, they get their teeth kicked in. You don't see this thing going anywhere.
No, they can't play every game out in South Beach in warm weather. And even then, I mean, we'll see what they really look like here in a few. I know they're playing the Bills on Thursday night next week, so we'll see how they look then. But, I mean, look, the Dolphins looked awful in this game. I mean, all their points. I mean, they're down 33-0 in this game. That's really, really bad to start the year. And, again, on the flip side, this is a Colts team that I don't think we had very high expectations for, with the whole quarterback battle going to Daniel Jones over AR-15. But it's not – it's a good start for the Colts.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to be pretty bad this year, so I need to see the Colts against a quality opponent. But at least for that day, they came away feeling pretty good. I know they're honoring Jim Irsay and all that with that game. But back to Mike McDaniel, he's a very odd guy, quirky, very cool, fashionable, likes to make jokes and that kind of stuff. And all that stuff is fine and good when you're winning. But I took a stroll through Dolphins Twitter on Sunday after this game. Oh, they're ready to run him out of town. They are over that whole shtick that he has.
No, he's supposed to be because what's his initial background? He was an intern with the Broncos and stuff. Wasn't he a ball boy at one point?
He was a ball boy with the Broncos. He's he went to Yale, right? So he's a smart dude, and again, he's been he was a part of that famous Washington coaching staff from a decade ago.
That's right.
He gets brought up every 2 weeks with McVay and Shanahan and all those guys. He's a good offensive mind, but being a good coordinator doesn't always make you a great coach. And now we're seeing, as this thing has devolved into this mess, Mike McDaniel can't get a wrangle on it.
He's 28-24 as a head coach. He's 0-2 in the postseason, so he's 28-26 overall. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a guy that very well should be fired if this is not a good season out in Miami.
Yeah, it's not going well. And again, you're already in division with the Buffalo Bills. The Jets look like they are probably going to be better than they were. The past couple of years, the Patriots, we'll see how they are under Mike Vrabel. But man, you're looking at being dead last in that division. Possibly.
As Josh Allen's wife, Haley Steinfeld, said, It's the Buffalo Bills and the Bills' three sons. Like, that's what it is. That's what it is.
By the way, who loves Josh Allen more, Haley or Chris Collinsworth?
Oh, definitely Chris Collinsworth. But actually, no, I take that back. Josh definitely does.
I was gonna say Chris might be very jealous of Haley's relationship with Josh.
Well, hey,
he loves him some Josh Allen.
Hey, Chris can go after Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce here in a few weeks. So.
That's true. Yeah, no, don't worry. We're gonna. Haley Steinfeld stays in the shadows when she's at Bills games. She doesn't like to be seen on camera.
Yeah, no, but no, we love Haley around here.
Oh, Haley's great. I'll do it for hour number 1. Coming up in hour number 2, Chris Clark gonna sit down with Madden McDonald of Gamecock Women's Soccer. You'll hear that coming up next as we start hour number 2 here in the game. It's all right here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I was driving in this morning, and on the opposite side of the highway, I saw a Canty Foundation Specialist truck going in the other direction, and I thought, well, they're probably on their way to help somebody fix their foundation problems. As I tell you about all the time, you always need to be on the lookout for foundation issues with your home. Things like cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticking, uneven or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. If you notice any of these problems with your home, you could have foundation issues. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfix.com. They'll send a pro out to your home to evaluate your foundation problems and get them fixed so you can live without worry going forward. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantycanfix.com for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist.
All right, welcome in, everyone. It's the Garnet Trust Hour here on The Game. Garnet Trust Hour, as always, of course, presented by our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating. Check those guys out. Thanks for their support of the show. And they've helped us get another student athlete from Gamecock Women's Soccer on today. So proud to have Madden McDonald on. Madden, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good, yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you were telling me before we came on, first radio appearance for you. So we're glad to have you. Excited to have you in and a lot of ground to cover. So first of all, I want to learn a little bit more about you. We're going to talk about soccer, obviously, but want to talk about you, your personal background. You're actually from Columbia.
Yes, I am.
Right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So grew up here. Were you Gamecock born and bred? Like what was it like growing up?
Yeah, so my mom went to college here. I grew up going to all the ID camps and, all the soccer games. So I did grow up a Gamecock, and yeah.
So you also played at IMG Academy for varsity soccer. Tell me a little bit about that move. And, I cover football recruiting a lot. And so I'm obviously pretty familiar with IMG from that standpoint. They crank out, I know they crank out athletes in tons of sports, including yourself at soccer, many other sports, but it's kind of a football factory, down there at IMG Academy in Florida too. But what just went into that decision?
Yeah, so around my sophomore year of high school, I decided to make the move to IMG. And I made the move just because it was best for me, and, I felt that was best for my development. And ultimately, it helped me so much grow as like a person and a player. But it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
For those that don't know, with soccer recruiting, kind of give us the lay of the land of, because again, I'm very familiar with football recruiting and, basketball recruiting to an extent. Baseball recruiting starts, very early. What's kind of the lay of the land nowadays for soccer recruiting, right? Is it a lot of, coming up, travel and club stuff? And obviously you played at IMG Academy, but what is the process like for someone like yourself that eventually goes to, the SEC level, the Power 4 level?
Yeah, so I'd say, so recruiting starts, you can officially talk to coaches, I think, June 15th of your sophomore year. I'm pretty sure that was the date. But, I think for recruiting, like making sure you're emailing coaches, using all your resources, going to ID camps, just kind of putting yourself out there to make sure that you get seen would be probably my best way to describe the recruiting process for football.
So when you're talking about ID camps, are these camps like on school campuses? Or are they like multi, like kind of go to a camp that a lot of coaches are at? How does that part of it work?
So every college typically holds ID camps, and it's just some are one day, some are a weekend, and some hold multiple college coaches. But personally, I've only been to like certain colleges. Like I went to a Florida ID camp, I went to an Arkansas and a Carolina, and it's just kind of like a one day, camp, and you do scrimmages and drills, and it just kind of helps coaches see you in person. If they don't get the chance to watch you play, it's a good opportunity to see you in person and get to know you.
What do you remember from your initial experiences with South Carolina staff? I know you mentioned you grew up a Gamecock, you've got the family ties here, but what was your first kind of point of contact and experience where you go, okay, South Carolina might actually be interested in me as a college soccer player, I'm interested in them? Like, what do you remember about that?
Yeah, so Carolina was always my dream school, and when I was younger, I didn't know if that was a possibility, but as I got older, I developed as a player, and Carolina was on my top of my list. So I would say they became on my radar when I was a sophomore, and I could officially talk to college coaches, and I went to ID camps, and I kind of grew up knowing Jamie and Shelly just because they're local and they would come to some of my club games growing up. So, yeah.
What stood out about them, just during the process, aside from them coaching at your dream school at South Carolina, as you got to know them more, aside from just, kind of being familiar with them, seeing them around at some of your games, what really stood out a bit about them as coaches and as people also?
Yeah, so they're married. So I think they kind of create this family environment that a lot of colleges don't really create. And I think, they're just great people and they really care about you outside of sports. And they're just great people and they really do care about you. And yeah.
What is your kind of day-to-day? I mean, I'm always fascinated by this with college athletes, just what their day-to-day looks like. You're obviously, especially in season, right? Like, it's pretty busy, like trying to balance everything. How do you handle that as far as managing your time, and what does a typical day for Mad McDonald look like?
Yeah, so just depending on the day, but today was our off day, and I did a lift today, and then I had classes, and I kind of try to keep myself very organized, and I have an agenda to tell me what I need to do. But it's definitely difficult. We travel a lot. We just got back from a week-long trip to DC. So just like trying to stay on top of things and, keeping up with all my schoolwork while also balancing being a college athlete.
Pretty challenging at times, I guess, a little bit.
It can definitely be challenging.
So what are you in school? You mentioned academics. What are you studying right now? Any ideas or designs on, what you want to do when soccer's over one day?
Yeah, so I'm studying sports management right now. Ideally, I would like to play pro after if I can. But I would like to be a college soccer coach myself. I think that's kind of always been like my main goal is to stay in the soccer community, and I think the best way to do that would be to play pro or, be a coach. So.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have, I like asking people this too, especially like, any sport where there are overseas options. I remember I was talking to some guys on the basketball team, and I ask a lot of the soccer players this, like, what are your thoughts on, playing internationally one day? Like, is that something where you're like, I would love to do that? Or like, hey, if the opportunity's there, cool. Like, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, actually, I think my main goal is to play overseas.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do that right after college. I think that's just a super cool opportunity. And,
sure.
The best way to get overseas is to play your sport over there. And I know they have great programs overseas, in England and Japan, and I think that'd just be a great opportunity.
And you got one that's like your top, like the Gamecocks or your dream college. You got like I would love to go play in Japan. I would love to get, like, does it matter? Or
I think I would like to start in England and then maybe like Australia or something. I know Heather Hens, she played on. She was a goalkeeper on the Carolina team a few years ago, and she's going to Australia to play pro. So I just think that'd be super, super cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Australia, a long way from home. I would love to get there for sure. Have you ever been overseas just to like take any trips at all?
I have not, no.
Yeah. So that's a good segue into, let's go away from the pitch for a minute. What do you like to do, just in the maybe little bit of downtime that you actually have away from soccer?
I love hanging out with my teammates. We're all super close, so we're always hanging out with each other. We have a very strong Christian community within our soccer team, so we do things like FCA. We do Bible studies together, so things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, and then we always ask people, before we let anybody go here, we always ask about food. I know that as a soccer player, you have to stay well-conditioned, in shape, but like, let's throw all that to the wind. If you get to just kind of eat whatever you want, what are you putting on the plate?
I love spaghetti. I think spaghetti would be...
Spaghetti?
Yeah, I love spaghetti.
Meat sauce, meatballs, no meat, like, what do you...
Probably my mom's spaghetti. She makes it with meat sauce. She makes the best spaghetti, so probably.
Yeah, I love mom's spaghetti is definitely good. There's no doubt. All right, before we let you get out of here, Madden, let's talk a little bit about the current season that's going on, right? Like, you've seen your role increase more in year 2 with this team. You guys are rolling through the season right now. I've already had, 8 actual games, sitting at 6-1-1. And next game, just to let everybody know, Thursday night in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. So SEC play starting up in earnest. But what have you seen from this year's squad? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this year's squad is we're super deep, and we have a lot of talent on this team, and I think we can go really far. We have a great staff, and I think Jamie and Shelley do a great job of giving us a game plan each game, and we've done our game plan super well so far. So I'm super excited to see where the team goes this season, and I think we'll go far. So I think it'll be exciting.
What have you seen individually from yourself, just as far as, maybe some goals that you had in the off season and how you've translated that over to the field this season?
Yeah, so I didn't play much my freshman year, but I did develop a lot in the spring, and I saw a lot of growth within my game in the spring, and I played summer soccer, and I think that helped me a lot. And then I worked super hard in the summer. I really wanted to play this year, so I put some extra work in, and I saw some good results already, and just super excited for my continuing the season.
Yeah, we're excited to watch you and your teammates throughout the rest of the season as well. Again, next game Thursday night against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. So, Madden, I'm going to let you run. I know you got a lot of things going on, but it's been fun to get to know you, to get to talk to you. Hope everybody else enjoyed who's listening as well. So thanks so much for the time, and wishing you all the best this season as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, everyone, let's tell you about our friends over at Classic Roofing. That's classicroofingsc.com. Residential and commercial roofers. Joe Reeder, Max Sawyer, our guys have family right here in the Midlands, and they are a reliable GAF certified roofer. Only about 7% of roofers nationwide even have that certification. So when you work with the folks at Classic Roofing, you're getting great service here for all your roofing needs, and they know exactly what they're doing with great customer service. Roof inspections, roof installations, roof replacements, and roof repairs. Each roof carefully worked on by a group of top industry professionals that have the necessary skills and the technical know-how, helps deliver outstanding performance and curb appeal to your property, all while staying within your budget and your timeline. ClassicRoofingSC.com, or give them a call, 803-590-7870. Free estimates for your commercial or residential roof, ClassicRoofingSC.com.
Welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler Head, Jack Veltri, and Chris Clark along with you here on the game. You just heard Chris's conversation with Matt McDonald of Gamecock Women's Soccer. We'll dive back into football. Obviously, yesterday we focused so much on what happened with South Carolina. I didn't get a chance to talk about a lot of the other things going on around college football in the 11 o'clock hour. Now that we're 2 weeks in, and not everybody's played quality opponents, but some teams have, and you've seen one game against one good team, one game against a lesser opponent. Is there any team in college football, specifically the SEC or whatever, that you were very wrong about prior to the season that you're able to say, wow, I got that one wrong?
I think Florida State, for a lot of folks, is wrong. They have jumped into the top 10 in 2 weeks, which is crazy to think about. And again, this just goes to show what you did last year is not totally indicative of what you can be the following season. Like, they were awful last year, 2-10, one of the worst teams in FBS, but they've turned it around and they have got their team. Tommy Castellanos is a lot of fun to watch. They have some really good players on that team, and they're back in the hunt to go out there and win the ACC potentially.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, especially this past week, the schedule wasn't great. Florida State played, to the extent where I'm doing a double take at my TV, East Texas A&M. I can't tell you how many people I just randomly polled. I was like, did y'all know that there's an East Texas A&M? I don't know if there's a West, Central. I don't know.
So they have
North.
They have
North,
East. They
South.
have A&M Corpus Christi.
I knew that one.
There's a couple different variants of A&M.
Okay.
But yes, a lot of people
did not know there was an East.
There was an East Texas A&M, and the fact that they play at the FCS level, like, oh, maybe that was like a JUCO or something.
They don't.
By the way,
they played like a JUCO.
There is a West Texas A&M. Is there a South Texas A&M?
I feel like I've heard of West Texas
A&M.
A&M.
Is there a Central Texas A&M?
I see there's a Texas A&M San Antonio.
Knew that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll even get a multi-direction, like a Northwest.
Okay.
A lot of JUCOs love to do the multi.
There is a
Southeastern Texas A&M.
I don't think there's a North Texas A&M because I would imagine that is supposed to.
Well,
do they also have like fake cadets too at those schools?
Ooh. That I think is disrespect intended by Tyler right
Maybe
there.
a little bit.
Don't disrespect the cadets.
It is
Don't boo the cadets.
It is a tradition, an interesting one at that.
Well, the point I was before I got
sidetracked.
Yeah, I completely derailed us because of East Texas A&M. They, I didn't realize they had a team. Didn't realize they had a school. They're apparently not very good.
No.
What was it, 73 to nothing? Or was that Alabama? Or both?
I think it was like 77 to 3,
77 to 3 was Florida State's score.
We were like tracking, are they going to score 100?
There was a lot of 70-plus point games this weekend.
Yeah. Which I think, amplified the South Carolina discussion. I think people felt like they should have scored 70.
Yeah, I know. What the heck, guys? 38 points?
It's not even close to 70.
Winning by 28 points? Oh, God.
But I think, it's been through 2 weeks, and the point I was making is that a lot of teams in week 2 did not play competition where we can get a great sense, a great feel. But FSU is I don't feel like I came into this year with a lot of, extreme takes about any team, really. Now, if you would have said, hey, what do you think of FSU through 2 weeks? I would have said they'll lose to Bama. I was in the camp of, why is Tommy Castellanos running his mouth so much? Y'all were 2-10 last year. Not him. He was not on that team. He was playing for Boston College. But I was kind of higher on Bama being a good bit better than last year. And maybe they will be.
They still can be.
They might be. They might be. Week 1, they certainly weren't. They looked pretty bad, just in terms of getting beat, the effort. But, yeah, I think FSU with winning that Week 1 game, and, look, they more than took care of business in Week 2. We'll see what their conference play holds. But that's got to be there. I feel like a lot of people are going to fall into the camp of FSU.
I kind of go the opposite direction. I thought very highly of Florida going into the year. I bought into the DJ Lagway hype train. I looked at what they had coming back. I thought the way Billy Napier ended last season was really good. And again, I'm not a I'm the farthest thing from a Florida supporter you could be, but I looked at everything that they had and said, okay, I think they're in for a strong season. I didn't know if they were going to be like a playoff caliber team or something like that, but somebody that could flirt with those 8 to 9 wins. And again, when you have the quarterback situation figured out, that helps out a lot of things. But man, what I saw Saturday in that game against South Florida, I pretty much lost all hope in Florida with that one. I don't know if Napier is going to survive the next 3 weeks, let alone the entire season. And Lagway was making a lot of mistakes that you wouldn't expect somebody that's been around, at this long to this point, 2 years now, to be making. And I feel like I was very wrong for maybe hopping on the Florida hype train during the summer.
I didn't think we'd be this soon into the fire Billy Napier fire train. Like, we were just through the cycle beginning of last season. I'm like, all right, they win all these games at the end of the year. They finish with 8 wins, and it's like, all right, they're going to be better next year, right? Like, that's what you do as an SEC team that has all these resources and stuff, but they've taken a big step back, and now you're looking at the daunting schedule, and it's like they could lose a lot of games, miss a bowl game. Like, I don't know if Lightning is going to strike twice like it did last year when they caught fire and beat all those good teams at the end of the year. But Florida State's good now. They don't have any easy cup. Mississippi State looks a lot better. Kentucky looks okay, I guess. Like, we'll see what Kentucky looks like, but they don't have easy games on their schedule where it's like, yeah, Florida can certainly win all these games. I think we're looking at Billy Napier getting fired here really soon when they start losing a handful of these games over the next few weeks, and then we'll see what happens with the Gators, but this is looking like a real back-breaking year.
Jack predicting the Billy Napier firing.
I don't think that's too outlandish.
I know.
I mean, not really. But
hot take.
I mean, look, guys, next 6 weeks, they got 5 top 16 matchups. They have 4 top 10 matchups. At LSU, at Miami, 2 on-the-road top 5 teams. You play Texas at home. You're at A&M. You're at Georgia on you're versus Georgia on November 1st. In between that, your most quote-unquote winnable game on paper is a Mississippi State team who just beat Arizona State.
Yep.
On a last minute. Then you play, as you said, Jack, Kentucky, and you finish it out with 3 top 17 teams. You're at Ole Miss, you're Tennessee, or Florida State. That's tough. Now, one thing I think we've got to learn, we'll probably never learn this because college football is live and die every week. Mm-hmm. They lost to a South Florida team that may be pretty good.
They may make the college football playoff.
They are the early favorites to make the playoff.
No, I'm serious.
Fire Billy Napier and South Florida to the CFP.
They all, seriously, no. Look at it this way. Like, if they lose to Miami this weekend, they could take a hit. It would. Again, they just have to win the American. They have 2 of the best wins.
There's not been a G5 team that has looked better through 2 weeks.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, and Boise State may not be all that good, but they were ranked when they beat them. 2 ranked wins. And so South Florida might be pretty good. Maybe Florida just had a really bad. We've seen some really good teams. I mean, Ole Miss last year.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to Kentucky. He lost to Florida. What was their other loss?
LSU.
Yeah,
overtime.
So, teams can have off days. The problem with Billy Napier is just compounded.
Yes.
From what we've seen last year, bigger expectations this year. You lose that game. It's to South Florida. It's an in-state school.
Yes.
It's at home. And then he goes up there and says, well, we just got to be better. And people are like, I've heard this so many times before.
and you had a game where you had over 100 yards in penalties. You run discipline. You had one of your players spit on the other guy. They missed a bunch of tackles on that screen play that USF took up the sidelines. It's like those are kind of things you would expect in year 1. You're in year 4. Like, those kind of things shouldn't still be happening, but they are, and that kind of compounds to where, and again, they were going to fire him last year. They had apparently a lot of the money already pulled together in the pot ready to go, and he was able to reel off a couple of impressive wins, and they held off. But, yeah, it's outside of pulling off a couple upsets in a row, it seems like he's all but cooked down there in Florida.
So at LSU, number 3. At Miami, number 5. Bye week. Texas at home, then you go to College Station. I'm telling you what, guys, like, this dude's gone after. If he's not gone within these next 4 games, I'll be stunned. I mean, Florida would have to at least pull off one upset over these next 2 weeks, but I don't see it happening, man. I mean, this team, and they can be good. Again, I think that's the thing. I think Lagway's got to make better decisions. That's probably number 1. But again, it's not like Florida got killed by South Florida. It came down to a last-second field goal. It's just, I mean, look, we saw this last year. It's been far too inconsistent, and those Florida fans, they're impatient, so they're going to want to move on as soon as possible, as soon as things go bad.
I want a new segment, Jack's Takes.
Okay.
Write these down, Tyler.
You just want to throw him something that he can immediately react to?
Yeah. Well, he's done it here. So South Florida to the CFP.
They are. Billy Napier's getting back. But that's not even a take. It is going to be a fact.
But you said within the next 4 weeks.
Ooh, okay. All right, okay. Yeah, you're right. All right. Shoot.
So are they going 0-4?
Yeah. I do think they are.
After the A&M game is curtains.
So they'll be 1-5 at that point in time.
Jack's Takes, new segment.
I like it.
And then we'll go review them upon each.
Okay.
And most of them will probably be wrong, but that's okay. That's
fine.
I can have my hot takes here.
Listen,
man. It's gonna be crazy.
You don't have to bat 1,000. It's okay.
Now,
as long as you're swinging.
Yeah, as long as I'm batting above 0.
That's right.
Okay.
Hey, 300 gets you in the Hall of Fame. Remember that. Speaking of coaches that are getting on hotter and hotter seats, Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. There's a dilemma right now in Stillwater of what exactly to do about the greatest coach that program has ever seen. I want to dive into that coming up next. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on your Tuesday here on The Game.
Hey, we're talking to the guys over at Integrated Media. They hear a few common things from new customers. Things like, hey, I didn't know that you guys sell TVs the same prices as the big box stores or online. That's right. They sell, deliver, and install TVs without you having to go into a store. You guys install camera and alarm system. Yes, Integrated Media sells and installs camera systems, video doorbells, video floodlights, and even monitored alarm systems to keep your family and your home safe. If your Wi-Fi is always going out and slow, yes, Integrated Media can take care of that for you too. Having Wi-Fi that works in every room and in the backyard with every device is necessary in today's world of streaming apps like YouTube TV, ESPN Plus, even e-learning days for the kids. Integrated Media is a one-stop shop for all your tech needs. Don't waste your time in the big box stores or browsing all the options on the internet. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 803-948-8327.
Welcome back in. Garnet Trust Tower presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler, Chris, and Jack along with you here on your Tuesday on the Game. One of the most interesting headlines of the weekend was Oregon completely demolishing Oklahoma State 69-3 out in Eugene. Of course, last week we heard a lot of Mike Gundy's comments about the resource discrepancy between Oregon and Oklahoma State and kind of setting his fan base up for the failure that was to come out there at Autzen Stadium. And he talked after the game on Saturday about what message he's giving to his fans after that loss.
Well, my message to the fans is to stay with us. I mean, that's what we do. You know, it's in our alma mater. It's loyal and true. The one thing I can say is I understand they get frustrated. Fans get frustrated. People get frustrated. I don't get frustrated, but I don't like it. Okay, so, you know, there's different ways to handle adversity. But people outside the program get frustrated. I get that. I understand. It's just part of competitive athletics. The one thing I can say is this, is they'll work hard, and 2 weeks from now, they're going to come out and play hard. That part I'm fairly sure, and we would love for them to come out and support their team, and we'll try to do our part. But there's no doubt that that group in there is disappointed in what happened today. I guarantee you that.
This is such an interesting dilemma because, again, Oklahoma State, most of their success in program history has come in the Gundy era in the past 2 decades, but things have obviously taken a pretty severe turn in the wrong direction. 3-9 a year ago, into their long bowl streak. Now you go out there and get your teeth kicked in by Oregon, talking about the discrepancy in resources and money and all that kind of stuff. How do you look at the guy that's built your program to where it was his most successful, and do you say, hey, this isn't working anymore, let's move on, with the belief that somebody else can come in and be better? Or do you say, hey, this is the guy that's had success before, let's keep riding with this and hope it turns around?
I think the immediate sign of what's to come is that you look back at the offseason, you know, Oklahoma State forced Gundy to accept a reduced salary and a buyout back in December, which, you know, leads you to believe like they don't have the full confidence in Gundy to turn things around and get right back on track. Like, yes, he's proven before that he can win games at OK State. Like, there have been a lot of good seasons, but, you know, recency here. I mean, they were awful last year, and they just got their teeth kicked in by Oregon really, really bad. So after complaining about, you know, how Oregon has a $40 million roster. So I think it all just points to this not going well. And again, this is another Jack's take, I guess, now that this is a new thing. I think Gundy, I don't think he's surviving after this year. I don't.
But you're giving him the whole year.
I think you give him the whole year. Yeah,
okay.
I think he deserves.
It's scorching in here.
Scorch! Oh my God, it's burning. You know, like I think you got to give him that respect, right? Like, if the season is awful, like we're talking about, like if he's all right, if Oklahoma State's 3-9 or 4-8 again, do you not fire him? I don't care what the buyout. Like, the buyout.
I don't know.
The buyout is 15. So the buyout's $15 million after the season. It stays at $15 million for next year, and then it drops to $10 million in 2027. Either way, you're paying this guy a lot of money to leave.
Yeah, I mean, it's... But by the way, Tyler, so what I would like to propose, and you have to make this happen because I don't know how to do anything in that room.
Okay.
If I walk in that room, everything would break. We need like a sounder for like writing on paper, like a ch-ch-ch-ch.
Okay.
So every time Jack starts with one of his takes and we can tell he's getting all ramped up, we'll just play it.
We're going to get one of these like every single
Jack's
day.
takes. We'll be wearing that thing out too. We've already had like 3 hot takes.
Yeah,
you need like a fire alarm to go off or something.
I now have a notes section on. I now have a tab on my notes section that says Jack's takes. So I'm just going to keep taking these down, and we'll see. We'll see how they end up.
So Mike Gundy cooked, according to Jack, after the
season's end.
At season's end.
I mean, look. What do you all right? So you guys want to? You guys are in favor of keeping him if he has another awful year?
No, I'm not in favor.
I think if it's going poorly, you could just fire him mid-season, right?
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead and get the ball rolling on next year.
You should. But also, I think there is a level of respect that should come with the guy who's been here for as long as he has.
And that's a really good point. And look, I equate this to something like Georgia, right, where Mark Richt was at the helm for 15 years. You know, they were good. They averaged 9 wins a season, but they could never get over that hump of being a national championship level team. And in fact, in his last year, they won 10 games. And, you know, that's a good season to a lot of people. But for Georgia, they want to take the next step. And they did the mutual parting of ways, like he's fired, but he's not really fired. He's gonna take a leave of absence. It was very odd, but they obviously brought in Kirby Smart and got him to the next level. But that's a Georgia program that, again, had success in the past, and Mark Richt got him to a point that they wanted to get past. Like Oklahoma State has never had that consistent amount of success to where if you fired the guy, right, like part of me believes that if Gundy had the resources that these other schools had, then they could still be really successful. It's just in this NIL era, he started to slowly drop off. But if you bring in somebody else, you don't know if they're going to be able to have that same level of success at a place like Oklahoma State if the resources still aren't there. You know what I mean?
Right. That's right. Well, and, you know, it's even if you start it in, 2021, even in the past 4 seasons, he's had a 12-win season and a 10-win season, and that's pretty good. And so I think you are at some point stuck between how do we take this thing to the next level, understanding, of course, like you said, Tyler, that you do have to invest, especially nowadays, or has it gotten stale? And for Gundy, his ties to the school, right? This is a guy that played quarterback at Oklahoma State. There's just a lot of weird dynamics in this thing because another thing is, you remember Mike Gundy, every single time a big job comes up, it seems like, not every time, but a lot of jobs, he's in the mix. So it seems like he's always kind of wanted to leave. I remember the Tennessee job that eventually went to Heupel.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
He was in the mix for that.
He was rumored for it.
He seemed to want it, but he always comes back. And so he'll kind of do, almost not quite a Gus Malzahn, but it's just, okay, it's getting stale. Oh, 10-win season. He constantly does that. So I don't know. If you're Oklahoma State, you do have to be careful what you wish for with that because you get rid of this guy that's really built your program, bring in somebody else. A lot of people are very fond of saying it can't get any worse. It can always get worse.
Yeah, but it is hard to get worse than going 0-9 in conference play. I will say this though, like
that's true.
It's not bad to maybe bring it again if it's just not working and they do go 0-9 and again in the league. Then it's like I think you got to move on. But at that point, it's like whoever you bring in, it's going to take time, right? You can build a winner overnight now with the portal and recruiting and NIL and stuff, but. Again, it looks like it's going to be a little bit tough at OK State just with how bad they've been lately.
And look, we know in college football, the people that have a lot of say in these things are the people that write the checks, right? So if you have high-level donors that look at Mike Gundy and say, you know what, I don't believe he can do it anymore. I'm not going to give X amount to this program until you make a change. Then you're kind of forced in your hand to bring in somebody else in to anticipate those resources coming in. Or there could be people saying, hey, Gundy's had us at this level for so long. He's dipped for a period of time, but we believe he can get there. I want to keep investing into Mike Gundy. Then you'd have to keep him at that point. Like it's a very, as Chris said, a weird dilemma that not a lot of programs have because Mike Gundy is Oklahoma State football. He is the reason why this program's been successful more often than not in the past 20 years. And now you're kind of at a crossroads, and I quite frankly don't know how they're going to play this, but I know this. Watching what I did of that game on Saturday, they looked light years behind where Oregon is. And again, Oregon, that's a championship level, playoff level, national championship level team that you didn't even deserve to be on the same field as.
Like an FCS team should get a butt kicking that bad. Not a, again, Chris, this was a team that not too long ago, 2 years ago, was right in the thick of things. Like the leaps and bounds of how far this program has fallen is quite startling, to be honest. And look, this is not a what did you do for me 3-4 years ago type of business. This is a what have you done for me lately sort of thing. If the results simply aren't there this year, like Oklahoma State is going to have some tough decisions to make. Actually, it might be an easy decision to make if things really, really go awry. But again, it's not looking good right now. And you got Tulsa this week, but after that, Big 12 play heats up, and you don't want if this is what it's going to look like, then it's not going to be good.
Well, from an entertainment standpoint, I want the mullet around college football as long as possible because he is a content goldmine. Speaking of content, as we do every Tuesday, we like to highlight the oddities of college football. Let's talk about the weird things that happened in week number 2. We'll have that coming up next to wrap up the hour. Garnet Trust Hour, presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating on your Tuesday on the Game. And welcome back in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour presented by Krantz Cooling and Heating. Tyler, Chris, and Jack wrapping up hour number 2 here on the Game. We always love highlighting the weird things that happen around college football on a given weekend. We got a couple winners from this past weekend across the sport. For the first time since 2011, Missouri and Kansas reignited the border war. Phenomenal game, by the way. Missouri comes back, wins that one, and gets themselves in the top 25 in the process. Did you see what happened? I'm assuming this was during halftime with the kicking competition that one lucky Missouri fan got to do.
I did. So, yeah, you want to go ahead and explain it?
So this was an opportunity to kick for $25,000. I believe this would have been a 42-yard field goal, 52-yard field goal, because they had them lined up at the 35. So it'd be a 52-yard field goal, or 45-yard field goal, that he would have got $125,000 if he kicks it there through the uprights. Instead of aiming for the uprights, though, he first takes his shirt off to reveal that he has FKU written on his chest and proceeds to kick at the Kansas sideline instead, where there were players standing there. So I guess this was during one of the media timeouts or something like that. But for a rivalry that has not been played on the football field, at least, in 14 years, the hatred still apparently runs deep.
And I think that guy was totally expecting, like, the crowd to just go absolutely bananas, but they couldn't have gone more mild than they did. I mean, there was a little bit of cheering going on, but...
Well, I think it happened so quick.
And I think people weren't expecting him to just kick the ball off to the Kansas sideline like, woo, yippee! Like, he kicked the ball to the sideline. Like, I think he would have gotten a bigger ovation if he kicked the field goal, made it, and then, like, runs over and, I don't know, like knocks over a Gatorade cooler on the Kansas sideline. Like, I don't know.
I mean, did y'all research this guy more?
No, I did not.
I did.
What have you got?
And it is a fascinating story. So the Kansas City Star had a great story from Pete Grathoff, whose column name, by the way, is For Pete's Sake.
Nice.
I mean,
great opportunity.
So the guy Carter Airy, I think I'm pronouncing that right. It was a 45-yard field goal.
Okay.
So when he found out he made the contest, he says that he, according to the KC Star, he just hatched the plan in his kitchen, like, nobody's making that kick.
Sure.
I'm just going to kick it at the Kansas bench.
Okay.
You know? And here's his, I'm going to kick it directly at the Kansas bench. This is what he told his wife. I really wanted to send a message. The message was, I hate you, more or less. And the state and the team disgust me. And a lot of Missouri fans, and that meant more to me than any type of prize money at the end. Additionally, guys, he has a prosthetic right leg. He was born with proximal femoral focal deficiency and had his leg amputated as a kid, and he was on the 2013 Team USA men's wheelchair basketball squad that won the America's Cup qualifier.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
And then, you know, Missouri goes on and
wins
that game.
Maybe that was
Carter Airy, the catalyst.
How about that? Elsewhere, Minnesota played Northwestern State and scored 66 points. And they ran out of fireworks in the process, to which they had to put up on their big screen, "We ran out of fireworks. Oh, sorry," with an exclamation point. If I remember correctly, didn't Carolina run out of fireworks in the Tennessee game in 22?
They did.
Yeah.
They did, I believe.
Good. It's a good problem to have.
Great problem to have.
Yeah.
I don't know if Minnesota foresaw that coming.
I mean, they should have.
Did they have sand on their field also?
Oh, yeah, right. Which, by the way, did you hear Connor Stallions clear South Carolina of any wrongdoing last week?
He did.
He's a trustworthy guy. No, nothing happened, you know, but I'm just saying,
but
like people are like, oh, yeah, I believe him. He said it, you know. It's like,
but like he also was like, well, if I had the notes on Tennessee, why wouldn't I want to see them in the playoff if I knew I could beat them?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very fair point.
Like, is he a trustworthy guy? No, but like he's saying things now. Like
but he's been open
He's
about
going out there being like, I did that.
He's
I
not
did that
lying
thing.
about it.
There's no reason to hide it at this point.
Exactly.
You know, you're caught.
Make a little money off it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Vol Twitter has to eat that one, I guess. Last one here. I love good, long, efficient drives where you can control the ball against your opponent. Kansas State, who's having a rough start of the season, by the way, 1-2 so far, lost to Army over the weekend, 24-21. Do you know how many drives they got in that game offensively, total?
How many yards?
How many drives?
Drives. Oh.
Total times they touched the ball.
5.
6.
Oof.
They touched the ball 6 times in that game. Army did the They won the middle 8 where they got the ball right there at the end of the first half, scored a touchdown, then immediately got the ball to start the second half as well. So that took a possession away from Kansas. But, against that Army triple option, you're only going to touch the ball so many times. Kansas State touched it 6 times the entire game.
The time of possession is startling. Like, you're going to be mind blown. Like, 40 minutes and 44 seconds, Army had the football in this game. Kansas only touched it for a little bit over 19 minutes.
I love ball control.
Like, that's next level.
Do you know the longest drive ever, Tyler?
Like time-wise?
I don't know if it's time-wise. Yeah, I think so. What amount of plays in yards? 26 plays, 95 yards, 14 minutes, 26 seconds.
Who's that?
Navy against New Mexico in 2004 Emerald Bowl.
I need to dig that up because I will watch that drive.
Bowl season.
I watched an Army drive that went like 12 minutes from last year, a couple weeks ago. I love it, man. That's the Garnet Trust Hour. Coming next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs.
All right, everyone, as we close out the hour here, presenting sponsor on Tuesdays and Thursdays of the Garnet Trust Hours, our friends over at Krantz Cooling and Heating. Hit them up for any of your home or business's HVAC needs by giving them a call, 803-672-3224, or you can visit their website at krantzcooling.com, K-R-A-N-T-Z, cooling with a K, krantzcooling.com. Check out all their Google reviews, schedule an appointment. You can even text them directly from their website if you have any questions. They have financing offers. You can sign up for their Krantz Club, which is their maintenance program, to make sure that as we roll into some cooler temperatures, and eventually, guys, we'll get into winter. Right now we're in fall, fake fall. They can take care of everything for you. Maintenance, repair, installation, controls, thermostats, residential and commercial. KrantzCooling.com. Shout out to them. Since 1983, they've been helping families and businesses in the Midlands. 803-672-3224.
11 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, West, and Chris, along with you here. We'll put some final thoughts on Saturday into Sunday's South Carolina State game as we get set for Coach Beamer's presser later on today and start moving on to Vanderbilt and SEC play coming up this weekend. Guys, I said this to Jack when we started the 9 o'clock hour. As I was finishing up yesterday at 3 o'clock and Jay Phillips was coming in to do the post-game show, he asked me, he's like, hey, what's the reaction been like today with the calls and texts and all that kind of stuff? And I said, honestly, it's felt like a loss. You know, it's obviously skewed very negative. A lot of talk about the offensive line, Shula, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they still won the game. They're still 2-0. Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but, you know, it's better than being 1-1 or you know, anything like that. So, you know, obviously the issues we talked about yesterday were obviously very concerning and things that do need to be cleaned up going into this weekend against Vanderbilt. But it's kind of one of those things where your goal is still ahead of you. And as we know, Beamer teams haven't always started off the season strongest, but they tend to get better as the season rolls along, and your toughest games come later on in the season. So hopefully that does benefit them. But again, for as negative as yesterday may have been, you still won the game, which is the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's obviously frustrating to have played on offense like that. I don't think anybody could look at it and have really much of anything to say negative about the way the defense played, the way that special teams played. You might could pick out, you know, they missed a field goal, you know, from 45 yards. They gave up a few third downs here and there. Other than that, those sides of the ball did what you expected and a lot more. You know, the defense did not give up a touchdown until late in the game when it's all back up. She got 2 punt returns from touchdowns. She got a long field goal for William Joyce, which was good to see. A lot good. The focus has been on the offense, you know, and rightfully so. That was the phase of the game that had the worst performance, you know, all in all. And again, as we said yesterday, it was not just the offensive line. I've continued to have, you know, everybody I've talked to, you know, on the Insiders Forum on Gamecock Central, most of them bring up the O-line. I've had calls and texts from people in the past couple days since the game. Most of it is asking, can the O-line be better? And I say they've got to be, but they also have to fix this, and this about the offense too. So I think you know, if you're looking for a silver lining, was it a bad game overall for the offense? Yeah, I think so, especially early in the game. But I don't also think this is the team's identity offensively. I think they can be a lot better. And I had somebody point out that I trust something, you know, I think very true to me yesterday, and it's you've got 16. And when you've got him, you've got a chance to beat anybody. Again, I'll go back to something we said this offseason, guys. Lenora Sellers can get a lot better from what we saw last year. And frankly, I think he can get a lot better than what we've seen from him the first couple weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question right now is, all right, is the offense we saw, particularly just in the first quarter last week, like the first quarter was when they just, you know, did not move the ball at all. You know, not that it was perfect otherwise, and you know, it certainly wasn't perfect against VT either, but, you know, I don't think what we saw in the first quarter against SC State is who this offense is. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people got caught in this same trap this time last year, you know, with the way the team started, with the way the team played against Old Dominion, and you're going, what was that product? And, you know, I don't think you can sit here and say, well, it's going to get fixed every single year, like it's just going to play out like that every single time. But I am a little bit amazed at how quickly people have forgotten how just week to week college football can be in terms of how you play on a given day. Again, if you bring this stuff up, it sounds like you're just making excuses, but you know, were they out of sync? Is it on them in some ways? Absolutely. But you got to just wonder the combination of field position to start the game, a 2.5-hour delay, a couple of just the missed screen where if the ball doesn't get tipped, your running back is probably on a breakaway for a huge play that gets you going on offense. Instead, the ball gets tipped and you have another 3 and out. And, you know, not to mention something I haven't really heard people talk about, you were actually on a short game week because you played on Sunday. Like, I know all of these things at the end of the day You just have to go execute against the FCS opponent. I get it. But I think we can acknowledge, hey, it was not good on Saturday, particularly for that first quarter, while also acknowledging that doesn't mean it's going to look like that moving forward. It doesn't mean it's going to look like that this week against Vanderbilt. I would be shocked if it looked like that this week against Vanderbilt. Now, Vandy's got a good defense. They've got a veteran defense. They held you in check for much of that game last year, even though South Carolina kind of controlled the matchup. It felt like Vandy hung around. So there are going to be some time. You can play much better on offense this week, and it might not necessarily mean you put up a ton of points, but I don't think we can sit here and say, oh, this is who they are. They're going to, there was literally a YouTube comment basically predicting that South Carolina is going to win like 2 games this year. And I'm like, okay, we are seriously in the twilight zone, deja vu at this point from the exact conversations we were hearing after week 1 last year.
Well, and it's interesting because I think you look at the first 2 games you played last year against an Old Dominion team that was 6-6 the year before and a Kentucky team that ended up being 4-8 a year ago. And I think you can make strong comparisons between the South Carolina State team that Carolina just played and the Virginia Tech team that Carolina played in week number 1. That Virginia Tech team looks like it's trending to be probably not a great team this year, probably on par with what Kentucky was a year ago. And I think if you took this year's SC State team, they probably could have given, last year's Old Dominion team a pretty good game. So I would say those 2 opponents are pretty comparable. So when you look at the numbers in the first 2 games a year ago compared to the first 2 games this year, a lot of the offensive numbers this year are actually a lot better. You've had more offensive yards per game, more pass yards per game, more yards per carry. You haven't turned the ball over at all compared to 2 times at this point last year. You've allowed less sacks. Their downs are right about the same, but overall, compared to last year, you're actually trending better than you were offensively at that point in time. And you can make the argument, hey, Sellers is a second-year guy now. You should be vastly improved in these areas. But, again, it's not like you're falling further behind. You're actually doing better than you were a year ago. It just hasn't fully clicked into gear just yet.
It certainly hasn't yet. And I think people look at it rightfully so. Let's not get too deep into Vandy yet. But, they do share a common opponent, which most people know transitive property doesn't apply in college football. But when there is a common opponent, there is a temptation to look at it and say, how did both teams perform? You look at Vandy the other night, right? They blew the doors off of Virginia Tech in Blacksburg in the second half. It was a close game until the third quarter, and then things went off the rails for the Hokies because of what Vandy did. I look back at that game, guys. Vandy didn't punt.
Nope.
Their first 3 drives, they had an interception, a touchdown, and a fumble. After that, they scored every drive except for the last 2 plays when they're kneeling the ball. And so if you're South Carolina, you look at that and you go, okay, Vandy, first couple weeks, they put up some points. We're going to have to bring more than 17, 20 points to the table. Can we do it, right? And so, now I think, look, South Carolina's defense will be, I think, the biggest test that Vanderbilt has had, and they're playing on the road at Williams-Brice. So without getting too much into it, I think all these factors have just piled up. The expectation that and I expected it too. I think you did too, Wes. The expectation that South Carolina's offense may be stronger earlier this year, that we wouldn't see some of the procedural things that plagued them at times last year, that it wouldn't be so sloppy against a team like SC State from the MEAC. And then knowing that you're about to get into conference play and you're going to have to level up your performances, I think all that's kind of compounded and has people, worried early in the season. Some have taken it way too far. Totally fine to be concerned and recognize that it's got to get better.
Yeah, I had higher I readily admit I helped set some of those expectations. We all did in terms of what we were hearing about the offense and kind of what you expect from the offense compared to the defense going into this year compared to what it was like last year, and kind of what you were hearing and what was coming out of those scrimmages in terms of just being cleaner overall in terms of your execution of the little things. Frankly, I think the good and the bad is that a lot of this stuff is some of the little things, and that's frustrating, I'm sure, if you're Shane Beamer. There was a great shot of him on the sideline after, after the missed field goal when like the offense had finally moved the ball a little bit, but then gets stopped. You're like, all right, let's get some points on the board. Then there's a missed field goal. He had this look on his face just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, it's got to be frustrating that a lot of this is the little things, but if you look at that too, maybe some of this is correctable. And then maybe I tend to go back to what I said yesterday. Success will build on success. And, you know, I just think this offense needs to see the ball go through the hoop a little bit. You've got to find a way to get Sellers going early in the passing game. You know, not only are they not running him a ton, but you're not throwing the football a ton either. Like, part of that is you're not staying on the field, so you're just not getting a ton of overall plays. You're not converting your third downs. You're right under 30%, I think. That number's got to go up so that you can get more plays and move the ball around a little bit more. But even if you're not running Sellers, I think just getting him in the flow early, you know, putting the ball in his hands a little bit, whether that's quick passes, easy passes, and just get him settled in as opposed to, you know, run, throw, or run, throw, run, and then you're on the sideline, and then, you know, you're into another, you know, sit there and watch for 10 minutes, and then you're back out there, run, throw. You're putting so much pressure on that one throw to be really, really good in order for him to get settled in. I'd almost assume go out, and I do think if you're an offensive coordinator, you are considering all types of things. A lot of what we saw in Virginia Tech was them trying to be hard-headed in establishing the run. And they're going – and let me say something else too, guys. I keep seeing this thing, don't run the ball up the middle. You can't not run the ball up the middle. You have to call inside runs. Now, if you tell me diversify the run game, do some other stuff, which they actually have, but if you say, hey, let's do some of that other stuff a little bit more, okay, that's fine. But you can't just say we're going to just throw away the inside zone. We're going to throw away running the ball up the middle. You have to at least have that. You have to show that at least a little bit. So they're trying to be hard-headed in establishing the run. There will be some games, though, maybe it's this week, there will be some games where you just say, all right, that's not in the cards for tonight. Let's open this thing up a little bit more. I think you got to throw the ball on first downs a little bit more. You got to try to throw the ball down the field on first downs a little bit more, and just try to loosen up the defense and then come back to the running game. I think they will continue to make adjustments, and let's see what the offense looks like as they have now a couple of games of tape to make their own adjustments to what's working, what's not, and then see what that looks like this Saturday.
We'll get into some of the other things that we missed from yesterday about Saturday's game, including the injuries, which are starting to pile up a little bit. That's coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris, along with you here on your Tuesday on the game. You know, we've had all these special teams scores, and if you're wondering, are we going to have a special teams giveaway like we had the past couple years? We absolutely are. And in fact, you can win some of the money that's already been earned through Vakari Swain's punt return touchdowns by going to 1075thegame.com for more information. We'll be giving away some of that money later on this week, and of course have the opportunity to do more of that as the season does go along. Obviously, Saturday, Carolina picks up the win 38-10 over SC State, but a major concern coming away from the game has to do with the injuries that South Carolina has racked up already in these first couple weeks. We obviously know that Judge Collier and JT Gear set out for precautionary reasons over the weekend, with Jalen Kilgore also taking some time to rest as well ahead of SEC play. You also had several guys get banged up throughout the game. Jaquel Holloman, Vakari Swain after his second punt return touchdown. Josiah Thompson also banged up, and Beamer seemed very concerned on Saturday in terms of where injuries are at. We'll hear from him coming up today at 1 o'clock for his usual Tuesday presser, but obviously you don't want this to be the story of the season, as we saw a couple years ago, where injuries just compound on each other, and that ends up derailing certain areas of your team.
Yeah, I mean, it was a concern even coming into the season at certain positions, like edge, for instance, where he had already lost, a few guys, a couple guys that could have factored in or would have factored in for you this season. I'm thinking about, George Wilson, Jaylen Brown, a couple transfers could have helped. Not available, not planning to have those guys available. So that was one spot where you really wanted to avoid injuries. Like you said, Tyler, you're missing JT Gear because he got banged up in the VT game. You're missing two of your starters at DB. You're down to your fourth nickel in the game. Now, if there is, I think, and like you said, it's important to hear what Beamer says today, this afternoon at 1. We'll get the SEC injury report this week, so we'll have a better idea. But he did Sunday night during the teleconference give a quick update. Sounds like Carolina potentially could end up a lot better than they could have. All the guys, he used the word trending. The guys are trending to all play against Vanderbilt, with the exception of Brady Hunt. That was the one they were kind of running some additional testing on. Beyond that, we haven't heard a ton behind the scenes, but we'll see what these next couple days hold. No doubt as they get into conference play, they need their horses, and it's a combination of guys that start and play a lot for them, or just some key reserve guys that they're really going to need going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Cisse on that list, too. That's a guy that kind of has emerged as, I think, one of their better players on defense. He goes down early in the game. Josiah Thompson banged up at left tackle. Those guys obviously are trying to gel together and get reps together on the offensive line. And, I think it's just when they start to mount like that, how much practice time do you miss this week, too? Like, even if you're able to trend to where you're able to play, how many of those guys are having to miss reps in practice, I think is important too. So less than ideal. Obviously it could be way worse, assuming they do get most of those guys back, but still not a great thing. I do want to give some kudos to some of the guys, like, a Kelvin Hunter steps in, like Chris said, 4th-team nickel to start the day. I didn't really notice him being, and I mean this as a compliment, I didn't notice him in terms of oh, that guy's not supposed to be out there right now. You know what I'm saying? He fit right in with the rest of the guys, was flowing to the football, appeared to be making plays on the ball. That says something when you've kind of coached up your guys to be able to go in there at the 2nd, 3rd, 4th string and just go play. We saw similar things from DeMarcus Leach, true freshman at cornerback. He's in the game week 1, probably thought he was just going for a fun trip to Atlanta, and he's on the field in the second half with the game on the line. So I think, some of those guys you certainly do hope you can get them back and get them back early this week so they can get those practice reps. And certainly everybody's hoping that they get good news on Brady Hunt, because we know Brady has dealt with injuries. He dealt with injuries before he transferred to South Carolina. His season got cut short late in the year last year, had the injury against Missouri, and really looks like someone who can be a weapon for South Carolina. I think can help as a, in the blocking department, but also in the passing game. So I know they would love to have Brady in there, both just in terms of for him personally not to have to go through that again, but in terms of the impact he can make on offense as well.
Well, and Wes, your guy that you reference a lot, Cole Kubelik, in terms of Brady Hunt, referenced him in his game thoughts, the other night. And Cole Cubulit, by the way, if you go read his game thoughts on Twitter, it's at Cole Cubulit, actually. Good Twitter name, so you can find him easily. He didn't say South Carolina was horrible. Like, he actually had some pretty good things to say. 87 is just a big help in many ways, talking about Brady Hunt. And so, that's something I think, Wes, we heard last year, like, hey, I don't think a lot of people realize how much Brady Hunt does for the offense. And I think certainly more of the attention was on the loss of Josh Simon, which, to be clear, was a big loss. But getting Brady Hunt back, I think, was quietly really good for this room. You've got some depth there. We've seen 4 different tight ends play for the Gamecocks so far. Having Brady, you're right, I think he can be a weapon with, being a true two-way guy and that he can catch the football for you. Probably not going to make a bunch of huge plays downfield, not maybe as dynamic as a Mike Smith, but can catch the ball reliably, can make some things happen, and is going to be a really solid blocker for you, too, and just do things the right way.
Well, I think we saw, especially in that first game, he was that good kind of safety net, somebody that Sellers could rely on, get the easy short throws to. That was a large part of what they did on that first drive where they scored the touchdown against Virginia Tech, where he kind of occupied that role that Simon played so well for South Carolina a season ago. And that's somebody you definitely want to have in the fold as much as possible to help Sellers out in the pass game. So we'll see what the update is on him, coming up later today, but definitely a valuable asset to this offense.
Yeah, and you hope it's good news again for him and for the team. And that honestly, coming out of week 1, as I was going, all right, what did we get right? What did we get wrong? I was going, man, we probably did not talk about Brady Hunt enough based on some of the things he was able to do in the perimeter sort of passing game. Off that RPO, much like we saw South Carolina give fits to teams with last year, with Josh Simon. And I think there's a lot of things, if Brady's going to miss time, that, Dingle's going to have to step up. Michael Smith's going to have to step up. Mo Brown, maybe Mike Tyler gets into the mix, the freshman from Hammond, because I think that's something South Carolina can, especially you have to put so many eyes on the backfield with some of this zone read, some of this misdirection stuff you can do with Sellers and the running backs. Having that additional kind of constraint by stretching the defense horizontally and forcing them to cover the flats can help open up things inside with your running game, because I do think we have to remember, and to Chris's point early on of, hey, it's not always the offensive line. It hasn't all been the offensive line. In terms of play calling, in terms of getting the offense going as well, the more you can have success stretching them vertically, but also if you stretch the defense horizontally and make them cover every blade of grass, basically, all those things can combine to make things a little bit easier on you in terms of that inside running game.
Again, Coach Beamer speaking today at 1 o'clock. You can listen to that on the halftime shows. He'll start to turn the page towards Vanderbilt this upcoming weekend. We'll discuss what he has to say coming up on tomorrow's show. How did we do in buy or sell for game number 2? We'll dive into that coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you on your Tuesday here on the game. As always, Thursday night, you can hear from Coach Beamer on Carolina Calls with Todd Ellis at 7 o'clock right here on the game. Last chance to hear from him ahead of Saturday's matchup between the Gamecocks and the Commodores. Kickoff at 7:45. Pregame coverage starts with Gamecocks game day with myself, Terry Ford, at 2:30. Broadcasting live from Jay's Corner at the corner of Rosewood and Bluff. Of course, we were keeping up with buy or sell this year, points-wise. Let's go back and see how we did over the weekend with the 5 questions that were asked on Friday. Question number 1. Nick Harbor had a 64-yard touchdown, which was his longest play from scrimmage in his Carolina career against Virginia Tech in game number 1. The question was, can he eclipse that on Saturday? Let's see here. Chris, you bought that he was going to be able to do that. Wes and I both sold, so Wes and I ended up being correct. And him not. There was a couple throws that were maybe a little off target. I think he may have had a drop in there too. Not as involved in the game on Saturday as he was in game number 1.
Yeah, what was the one where they drew the PI? How far would that have been?
Ooh,
that would have been a chunk play, but I don't think it would have got you.
I don't think it was that.
I don't think it was going to be that far.
It would have been. You would have lost in terms of the actual letter of the law, but I feel like that would have been, it's another
Close.
big play from him. So
yeah. Well,
if it would have hit,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the reasoning. It was a lesser
worth
opponent. You felt like you could have taken advantage of that. Just
worth a try.
Didn't happen. Second question was the first quarterback after Sellers to take a snap was going to be Luke Doty. I was going to sell on this, but you guys convinced me to buy, and we were all right as Doty did go out there before Aaron Noland got some snaps late in the game. I don't know. Did you guys hear the chant of let him throw it at the very end of the game from somewhere in the stadium?
I didn't hear that. I did. There were a lot of people around me that were yelling to let him throw it, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of Luke Doty stands in the fans.
No, I'm talking about Aaron Noland.
Oh, Aaron Noland.
When Aaron Noland was in, there were chants of let him throw it.
Okay. I was about to say, because Doty got to throw it. People were yelling, like, open it up, let him do it.
Doty got a nice reception when he went out there because, again, everybody loves Luke Doty. But, yeah, when Noland was handing the ball off the end, there were some let him throw it chants.
Yeah. Well, and I kept wondering, that was one question. Like, if you made me pick who's going to go out there after Luke, I probably would have said Aaron Noland. He's a little older.
Yeah.
They're really they're the same in terms of experience here at South Carolina.
Sure.
But he's been in college, an additional year. I figured, okay, they'll probably let. But I kept wondering, will they put Cutter in at some point? So weren't able to get to that. But yeah, I wanted to see Aaron Noland. Let him throw a pass.
Yeah,
get in there.
I was the one chanting it.
You were the one chanting it.
Not really, but
not really.
I mean, it was so late in the game though. Like, if you're just late in the fourth quarter, you can kind of get away with the like, hey man, we're just trying to let our third string guys go play, and coaches, don't see that as a sign of disrespect. Once you start getting into that final 2 minutes, I feel like if you're still just throwing deep balls or something, then maybe that gets a little too much.
Well, and that's the thing is, there's a difference between throwing, into the flat to a tight end or running back and actually uncorking one down the field. Like, you can, if you're the other team, you can live with the short throws, that kind of almost operate as runs in a way too. But yeah, when you're trying to beat them over the top, when you're already up by 4 touchdowns late in the game, you can get a little bit into the disrespectful territory there for sure.
Disrespect intended.
Disrespect intended.
Yes.
So that did not end up happening over the weekend. Buy or sell. Number 3 was SC State had given up the kick return touchdown, the block punt the week prior. Buy or sell, could South Carolina score a special teams touchdown for the second week in a row? I was the only one that bought on this. And I got a double dose.
Why did we sell that?
Because the law of averages tell you it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
It seems like it's impossible to have that happen. 3 punt return touchdowns in 2 weeks, which, by the way, tied a school record with Dickie Harris from back in the 70s in 6 quarters.
Yeah, is Vicari Swain evening out the law of averages to where it's a smarter play now to pick them to score?
This is going to come up Friday again, by the way, so be prepared.
Okay. I will be. I'll try to be.
Wes? Anything?
Well, I just was sitting here thinking, I was trying to just I always want to just go in my gut on these things and go against the grain. And on this one, I was thinking, no, don't be stupid. There hasn't been a punt return for touchdown in how long? It's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. So, no. And then I was just like, I'm sure SC State's going to be very, very diligent about trying to keep this from being a huge factor in the game, even though they were pretty bad on special teams the week before. It's like, no, just play the odds. Play the odds. And then, I mean, they made multiple huge plays in the game. And I still think there was a pretty decent shot at a kickoff return for touchdown. If they get one more block, now it would have been called back. But it looked like Harbor had room to run on that one kick return. And that actually would have hit for Chris's Harbor with a play over 65 and would have hit for Tyler's
a double dose
special teams play as well.
By the way, we discussed at the end of the show yesterday appropriate nicknames for Vicari Swain. Vicari the Ferrari is trending high right now. How do you feel about that? Or do you have a suggestion?
Oof. Well, I mean, you caught me unawares on that one. I have not really thought of any. You know, do you go kind of lame and go for a cheap rhyme and do the Swain train?
That was also a popular one.
I think I've seen that one that probably got put in my head. No, I'm bad at nicknames. Don't ask me to do nicknames.
I like the Ferrari one. I think, it flows off the tongue pretty well.
Ferrari Swain.
Ferrari Swain.
Okay.
That also works.
That's fine.
It's interchangeable.
Yeah.
Especially if he does another one, then my goodness.
If he does another one, it's out of control. Can you imagine?
I can't. Hopefully he's hopefully he's good and ready to go for this weekend, so we can hopefully see it again. Question number.
Tyler, real quick.
Yeah.
I was gonna say another point our guy Cole made. Chris referenced his takeaway from the game. Now, how much? Could Swain do it again? Absolutely, at some point this year. But how much do teams have to now adjust because of him? That changes your entire prep in terms of how you handle punting. Do you get better field position because now, maybe teams punt away from him. Maybe you get a shorter punt because they don't want for him to have those opportunities. Maybe, as we saw during the game on Saturday, maybe you get a punt block because teams are so worried about the return. Maybe you can fake the block and set up the return. I think there's so many different things you can do now that the word is out on what he has done, it affects the game. Even if he doesn't affect the game, he cannot have a single punt return in a particular game, and he still is going to have an effect because he has shown not only that he's good, everybody with great blocking, if you're a punt return at the SEC level, can probably return a punt for a touchdown. But he has shown he is dynamic. And, I don't know if I've seen many punt blocks where you get there, you get a piece of the ball, and also is a true punt return for touchdown. How often does that happen? You see the punt block where it's blocked backwards and it's scoop and scored, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a true where the ball was at least tipped and then it's picked up down the field and returned for a touchdown. I just can't recall seeing that happen very often.
Speaking of special teams, question number 4 was Jody Camillus last week had teased the idea of multiple place kickers. Would we see multiple ones on Saturday? You guys both bought that. I sold that, and William Joyce was the only one that attempted field goals all in the first half, missed one, made one, and there were no opportunities in the second half. If they would have lined up for one late in the fourth quarter, maybe you see somebody else, but that opportunity never presented itself.
I'm getting whooped. Goodness. Yeah, I mean.
Are you sure I bought that? I feel like I should have sold that.
Yeah, you bought it.
Well, I feel like I should have done the opposite of all of them that, I got wrong, but I didn't. So here we are.
Chris, you going to do that thing where you just go opposite of your gut?
Yeah, George Costanza.
Yeah.
Opposite day. Yeah, that's what I need to do.
Last question was South Carolina will keep SC State out of the end zone to keep the no touchdown streak alive. Dang it, they almost had it because I did buy that. You guys both sold it and were right. However, it was the backups on defense, so the first unit still has the record going.
It was inconsequential.
Yeah, it didn't.
For sure.
At the end of the day, it didn't matter. I still said they've not given up a touchdown on Saturday yet, so that's something you can keep rolling with going into this weekend because it was like 12:02 a.m. when SC State did cross the goal line.
Yeah,
so that's the Sunday score.
Dude, that was the wildest part. You look up and it's midnight and you're still in the stadium. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, Hawaii had already kicked off and you're still playing.
Bad times. That's bad.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Bad performance by me this past week. Got to do better. Need to study up. Try to anticipate your questions. Think about it. Try to do better.
What are our records?
So I'm leading with 7 points. Wes is in second with 5, and Chris has 4.
God.
So we're pretty close.
I mean, out of 10 questions, I'm 3 away.
Yeah.
We've had 10 so far, right? 5 each.
Yeah, 5 each. You're batting 400. It's not terrible.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, right? We'll come back, wrap up the hour. Chris was not in studio yesterday, covering some recruiting stuff. We'll dive into that coming up next to wrap up the hour. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris wrapping up the hour here on the game. I don't know if you guys have seen our guy Dreamy Josh out there is really enjoying the new pinball machine. This is the second day in a row.
Oh, goodness.
No, I've seen him down here.
I'm at an angle. I'm sitting down here, and so I can't even I do hear the pinball machine now that you said it. Josh is a lot of play, little work guy. He loves coming out. Like, he shows up when it's time to eat.
Yeah, when there's food.
Or play golf, or simulate golf at Pro Swing, or play pinball. And that's going to about do it.
I think he's got the high score out there now.
Well, I mean, his play time is probably 100 to 1 for everybody else. So he should have the high score.
You would think.
Wes, you don't want to pile on Josh too? Or are we good?
I mean, I was just preparing to talk about Caden Ramsey. I'm not there right now, so I can't hate on Josh too bad. But I do know he texted, was that last week, and was like, "Hey, is the pinball machine in there yet?" And then magically, it sounds like he's been in the office like a lot lately. So
on a Tuesday,
yeah. I've seen, now that they've redone everything out there, we've seen a lot more of the upstairs people down here for a weird reason.
I've had some ideas for out there too.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, I was pitching some of our ideas to him there in that break. Like,
I don't know if mine will. Yeah,
get some consoles down here, make this even more fun. But Chris, you were gone yesterday. Joined us on the phone for a couple segments. You were handling another commitment for South Carolina's 2026 class with Caden Ramsey up in Cross.
Yeah, this is a very interesting prospect. I mean, Wes, this guy, first of all, you see him, and you see, okay, he's listed at 6'5", is he? Yeah. I mean, he's a big cat, and he's 6'5", 210, 215, has the frame to get a lot bigger, multi-sport athlete, right now, plays football, plays offense and defense for his high school team, plays basketball, runs track. He's played baseball in the past, so checks the multi-sport box. And that's another reason why his head coach, Sean Wright at Cross, told me yesterday, hey, I think, by the end of this kid's freshman year of college, he's going to be able to be 230 pounds. He's going to be focused on one sport. He's going to be in a college weight program. The resources, the nutrition, the weight room, he's going to get there. And there's a lot to like about this guy because Carolina likes him as a flex tight end. He plays receiver in high school and also plays safety. And some of the stuff that he does was kind of eye-popping. I mean, led the state in interceptions last year, had 14 interceptions. I don't care what level you're at. That's pretty impressive, and guy that South Carolina saw in camp this summer and really, really liked.
Yeah, a couple of fun stories there. For one, I talked to Chad Simmons yesterday briefly, writes for On3 and Rivals, has been doing it forever at the national level. We were talking about Caden. He was kind of trying to get some insight on him, and he's like, dude, is this real? Like 13, 14 interceptions? He's like, you know how long I've been doing this? He's like, I don't know if I've ever seen that number from a guy. Like, just from a production standpoint, to have that many picks, and you're not even being recruited as a DB, it is pretty insane. Whenever you have an athlete like this who is kind of playing small-town ball, you want for them just to be dominant. Like, you want them to be a man among boys. It seems like that is what he is there at Cross. Other story, Chris and I are always out there at these summer camps where South Carolina will have recruits in. We'll have just high schoolers from all over in. Anybody can sign up. And I'm out there, and I'm watching Sean Elliott one of these days just walk around with this guy. And I'm like, who the heck is that guy? Just because, and he was on the other side of the indoor facility, and he was just that big, that physically put together, that I'm going, that's got to be a dude. Like that's a guy we need to know who he is. And we're sitting there like, hey, is this one of those 4-star, 5-star, tight ends maybe they've been in on at some point? Who is this guy? We start asking around. We find out, hey, that's Caden Ramsey. That's the under-the-radar guy that Carolina's been in on actually for months before they offered. Like, okay, well, that makes sense. Also, come to find out, at that 6'5", ran like a 4'5", 4'6", 40, long arms, big hands. Like, he has all the makings, in my opinion, of that kind of just classic in-state, under-the-radar, small-town guy that you bring in as a raw athlete, and then you hope you can develop them. It doesn't always work out, but there are also times where it really works out. We've seen South Carolina just have success with these Palmetto State guys. And he actually has some NFL bloodlines too, guys. If you think about Cross and that area, none other than Rod Wilson, who played at South Carolina and then coached at South Carolina, has coached and played in the NFL, is not only from there, but that's his cousin as well. So he does have some NFL bloodlines there.
Yeah, and that adds to South Carolina's 2026 class, which continues to grow, sitting right now, this per On3, 17th overall nationally, 8th in the SEC, and obviously a couple more months to go before that class starts signing coming up in early December. So things continuing to trend well in that direction. And again, we hear from Coach Beamer in a little over an hour, and again, hopefully get a good injury report and start turning our attention to the first SEC game of the year and Vanderbilt coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, excited to dive into Vandy. By the way, guys, I know we talked about this a little bit, but Chris Lee from VandySports.com at some point going to join us this week.
Cool.
In my opinion, nobody covers Vandy like Chris. He's been doing it for a long time. So really, really interested to get his perspective because he's seen some lean years for Vandy. He's seen the best of Vandy. This year could be, one of their better years. I know he'll tell it like it is. So really interested to get his thoughts. Probably Thursday on that. So
yeah,
keep it on your radar. Mark it down.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking forward to that, hearing from him. And I got to imagine it's been one of the funner off seasons in Nashville compared to recent years. Got the quarterback, obviously got a lot of good things on offense. And again, they took it to Virginia Tech over the weekend up there in Blacksburg. So we'll dive in a little bit of Vanderbilt coming up tomorrow. Hear from Coach Beamer later on today and react to that as well. It's been the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show coming up next here on The Game.